Hello and welcome to this tutorial. The whole point of this tutorial is mainly for the Sony FS5 group over on Facebook. It's a great place, a great place to go, full of resources, users of all different experience levels. And the great thing about that is that you will have someone that will ask a question that may line up with something that you wanted to know or something you didn't know you wanted to know, and then you'll have someone else who will step in and help with that particular question, and then the overall group organically learns something new, or it disproves a theory that people may have, and in that way, again, it's all about keeping that white noise of the industry at a minimum and making sure that we all understand and learn new things. So I created this tutorial really just to try and add something positive to the group, and in particular, we're going to be discussing LutCalc, how to create exposure compensation LUTs, how to create S-log pass-through LUTs, and how to create S-log2 to S-log3 transformation LUTs, and then a demonstration of all of those things working. So the first thing to do is to get to LutCalc. Now LutCalc is available on the App Store. I think it's £2.29. I've already purchased it, so it doesn't have the cost. But yeah, I mean, it's the price of a cup of coffee. So I'm going to click open. And here is LutCalc. LutCalc was created by Ben Turley. There's a great depth to this particular program, but we're going to just skim the surface of the basics. So I'm going to create a 1D LUT here, and the reason I'm creating a 1D LUT is just to keep things simple. To make it, I mean, people can correct me on this, but a 1D LUT is essentially, it doesn't affect the color gamut. A 3D LUT does. So the reason I'm picking a 1D LUT here is because we're not trying to manipulate the color gamut. We're just trying to manipulate the gamma curve. And in particular, just for exposure compensation. So the first thing we're going to do is select the right camera, Sony FS5. We're going to create a one-stop correction to the gamma. Now this maintains the logarithmic curve. It doesn't alter it to Rec 709 or change the contrast ratio in any way. There's no lift of the highlights and a pull of the shadows and a push of the midtones. Nothing like that at all. It's literally the same curve pulled down. And as you can actually see how this kind of functions. So when you pull S-log3 down, S-log3's max recording limit at native exposure is 93% IRE. When you pull it down, it's now below that. And you can kind of see how improving the signal to noise ratio in the shadows, how you lose highlight headroom. And the thing is that you're not losing dynamic range, you are gaining dynamic range here, you're losing it here. So it's a simple shift. And a lot of us follow this process when we're out in the field finding exposure. So, okay, so you selected the camera, you selected the stop correction, you've selected your gamma, and in this particular instance it's S-log3, and we're also outputting to S-log3. We're not going to S-log2, we're not changing the gamma curve in any way, we're maintaining that logarithmic data and sticking with S-log3. Okay, let's give it a name. So what's this going to be? S-log3 pass-through, T-H-R-O-U-G-H. That's correctly spelled, isn't it? Yeah, -1. Still, yeah, data levels, 1D, it's a grading LUT. It means it's compatible with, the thing is, a 1D LUT is sometimes not compatible with certain programs. So for example, Color Finale Pro from Color Grading Central doesn't accept 1D LUTs, it accepts 3D LUTs. So you could create this pass-through with a 3D LUT, and anyone who's actually had my pass-through LUTs, my BAMP film LUT pack, they've always been created as 3D LUTs in order to maximize the compatibility. When you create a 3D one, all you must make sure is that the color gamut doesn't change either, so that you're maintaining the S-log, maintaining the logarithmic curve, maintaining the color gamut, and then it will perform the same as a 1D LUT. But for this particular tutorial, I'm going to explain this with a 1D LUT so that we can keep things separate from changing the color, changing the gamma curve, and changing the color gamut. So let's generate this LUT and find a place to save it. Now I'm going to put this in my Davinci Resolve folder, LUT folder, and I do understand that many people don't really know where that is. So on my Apple iMac, it's I'm going to go to my Macintosh hard drive, go to library, sorry, application support, Blackmagic Design. Here we go. Blackmagic Design, and then Davinci Resolve, and then here is the folder, the LUT folder. We're going to create a new folder in here for this particular tutorial. So this is going to be LutCalc test, and click create. So now we have our folder. Here is our LUT name. Click Save. Give it a few seconds, and it lets you know that it's saved the LUT. So let's just leave LutCalc alone for a second and just move over to Davinci Resolve. The first thing we need to do is we need to let Davinci know that we've added a LUT to its LUT folder. So you click on Project Settings, it brings up your project settings, navigate to Color Management, open your LUT folder. You don't have to do this, this is just to show, this is just for demonstration purposes. And as you can see, here's the LUT inside our, wherever it's gone, LutCalc test folder, there it is. So let's get rid of that. Click Update Lists, give it a few seconds, it will update the system, and then click Save. There we go. Okay, so now that LUT that we just created is inside the system. Now, why would you create a pass-through LUT? There's only really one reason. So if you hand off this, I hand off 99.9% of all the footage I shoot, and I email exposure compensation LUTs and color gamut transform LUTs in order to do two things. One is I usually email across the exposure compensation LUT so that the exposure that I found on set can be maintained. The second thing I do is I email the actual look LUT that we monitored with, because that's generally what the director on the day has signed off on, or the client has signed off on, and you don't want any surprises for them in post. So if they don't have my particular look, you know, they may just go down the typical route of Sony. Typical used LUT is Sony's low contrast Rec 709 type ARRI, which is their ARRI look LUT. And to be honest, they might forget what it looked like on set. So for example, this particular clip is comes from Katie Smith, which is a director, a Canterbury-based female director. I say female because females in the industry, they really need, they're the champions at the moment. They're really doing some fantastic work. And this is from her short film Run as Fast as You Can. And without the notes that our fantastic second AC Mel supplied, it may get all the way down the pipe and the colorist goes in this direction. Obviously the whole film isn't going to be color graded with a single LUT, but you know, for the sake of the tutorial, bear with me. And the thing is that it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look like there's anything wrong. But it's not the look that we went for. One, we didn't monitor with LC709, and two, we didn't monitor at this exposure value. To show the difference, let me just add in a serial no before. Let me bring in the exposure compensation LUT that we applied, well, sorry, that we created in LutCalc. So if we go to LutCalc test, here is the S-Log3 pass-through LUT. When I apply that, this is the look that the director on the day was monitoring alongside my focus puller and me, and this is the look that we developed on set. So we developed this look on set based on my light meter, my light meter readings and the various tools that I have built into my Odyssey 7Q and at the time my small HD 502. And this is the look. Now without the LUT, without that compensation, no one's going to complain about this shot, but it's not what we went for. So the second reason to create a pass-through LUT is when I demonstrated this to you here, you know, when you've got a side-by-side comparison, you can clearly see there's a difference. But they might not have the LUT. So they may be looking at this. And this versus this is very small. There is definitely a change, as you can see, but it's very, very slight. And if I just show you the difference, if you then try and communicate that this is actually overexposed and you need to pull the exposure down, and they go in this direction, they may not actually get the same result because they're still eyeballing it. I mean, they might have a processing LUT on there, and they might be correcting exposure this way, trying to find it and everything like that. But they now need to do that on a clip-by-clip basis across the entire project. I mean, this particular shot on its own, this was take 5 of one particular slate that day. You know, if you get through 20 slates with, say, a minimum of, say, 3 or 4 takes per slate, you're looking at somewhere between, 40 to 60 plus 70 or even 80 shots in one day of production, and that's a lot of work. But it's a lot. It's not so much that it's you're not trying to take the burden of that off of someone, that work. I mean, you are in one direction, but you're just asking for inaccuracy across the board. It's a lot easier to work with LUTs, and that's what we monitored with. So that's why I would provide a pass-through LUT, because then dailies could be created that still maintain slog without being converted over to anything else, but the exposure is correct, the exposure is accurate. So that's the reason why I'd create a pass-through LUT. In particular, on this particular short film, we didn't use LC709. We actually used Art Adams' Vericam LT LUT that he created over at Pro Video Coalition, which is this look here. Now, just to show you, so now you might say that this is a lot of faff. There's two nodes here for the result that you can get with an exposure compensation LUT, and that is very true. Now, you could create this LUT inside of LutCalc, or you can create this inside of Davinci, and that's another reason for a pass-through LUT. So the other reason for a pass-through LUT is that you may, at the end of the pipe, the colorist may like the look that I went for on set, but he or she just wants to add a few creative changes. Now I'm going to do something extreme, just for the demonstration purposes. So, you know, he may wanted the highlights up in the blues. Sorry, in the yellows, shadows in the blues, skin tones up in the red. Well, he may wanted to desaturate everything and create this awful looking image. But this might be what he wanted to do. Now he can do this because at the beginning the exposure is correct. So he's not having to guess exposure, and he's not having to guess look. He just needs to make some creative changes at a baseline level. And now the thing is you could always create your LUTs alongside the colorist for the project, and then that way there is no confusion there. But essentially that is why I create pass-through LUTs, and I keep them on my monitor so that we can preview the log and we can preview the look, and no one is ever really seeing this, and no one is ever getting tripped up by that. No one is receiving footage that, well, they do receive footage that is like this, but then they also receive a little email with this LUT in the email for them to use. So that's the reason why I create pass-through LUTs. Okay, so there's that. Now you can circumnavigate all of this by creating a LUT inside of LutCalc. So if we go over to 3D LUT, and again FS5 -1 slog3 sgamut3 cine, and then you can go over. This is the process that our fantastic Art Adams did over at Pro Video Coalition. So if we go, sorry guys, there's a lot of things in front of my eyes and I'm terrible at this. So where's the Vericam 709 V709? There's probably people watching this going, it's there, it's there, it's there. Oh, I can't see it. Oh, gamma. There it is, Vericam 709. Oh, I just received a message. Right, and then also the gamut needs to change. So it is V709, Vericam 709. There it is. So this is, you can see how this changes the curve. And we're going to call this slog3 LT -1 test. Yes, what the hell? Test. There we go. Right, click generate LUT. This is a 3D LUT because we're also altering the color gamut. Now we've automatically come back to our LutCalc test folder, and you know how to get there. Click save, and that is now in there. Again, we're going to go to our project settings and update our lists in order to make sure that LUT is now inside of Davinci Resolve. And it is. Click save. Right, and now we can delete these, create a new node, and if we go to 3D LUT, LutCalc test, slog3 LT -1, we now get that exact same result from LutCalc. Now, if someone at the other end doesn't have LutCalc, they can still get this result via that pass-through LUT. So remember, the pass-through LUT is really just helping to prepare that slog footage. So you're not trying to create a transform that is forever changed. The pass-through LUT is really just to help with archive. So I've added too many there, but they can add in slog3 LT. Now this is achieving the same result as that one LUT by itself from LutCalc, and then from there they can right-click and generate a 3D LUT from this particular test. So if we go, should bring up our last one, so LutCalc test. If we go slog3 lt -1 resolve, click save, we now have that LUT created from resolve. And if we go update list again. Now, again, the whole point of this is really, I mean, we are going all over the place, but I'm just trying to demonstrate that a LUT is a LUT, and that you can create it from different places. But now if we delete these, add in a LUT, if we apply the 3D LUT that we just created from inside of Davinci Resolve, which is down here in LutCalc test, there's the Resolve test. It even has the timeline, or the clip name, sorry. Click that. Well, again, we have the same result. So that's the reason why I create a pass-through LUT. It's a way of maintaining exposure without completely changing the color space over to something else entirely. And yeah, they're great. If you, especially when you've got the Odyssey 7Q, the Odyssey 7Q and the Inferno to a degree becomes the brain of the FS5, and you can preview different exposure settings for log as well as your whatever look you're going to. So if you do prefer looking at log, or if you do look at log for reference, this is a great tool. For example, all of your exposure tools inside your monitor of choice, which could be your zebra values, your false color settings, and where you like to find your waveform, they are going to get distorted when you overexpose. All of those numbers are going to fall out of reference. None of them are going to make any sense. You know, they're going to be based on, say, correct exposure, or they're going to be based on overexposure by 1 stop or 2 stops. You know, the thing is that you're going to have to change those numbers each and every time you change your approach to exposure. So, you know, here we're in a forest, and I could only overexpose by 1 stop for the depth of field that I needed, the shot type, etc., etc. In a different scenario, I might want to overexpose by 3 stops. But the thing is in order to change that, I've now got to change my IRE values for all of my tools, my zebras, my false color, etc., etc. However, if you have a pass-through LUT, in your monitor recorder, where am I going here? Serial number 4. If you have a pass-through LUT in your recorder, the recorder can monitor the LUTs change to the image. So in the Odyssey 7Q, for example, the Odyssey 7Q will monitor the LUT change. So that means that you can overexpose by 1, 2, 3 stops, but still look for 41% IRE middle grey, 61% IRE for white. That never changes. Your exposure targets do not change. And this is how the FS7's Cine EI mode works. It changes the exposure of the LUT, and then your tools remain the same. Your tools are you're always trying to find the same exposure. So however you want to work, if you find exposure via a grey card, exposure via a light card, a light meter, if you find exposure with false colour on skin, you can set that up once, just once, on the Odyssey 7, in particular on the Odyssey 7Q. I'm sure it works on the Inferno as well. And then when your device is monitoring a LUT that's applied, you don't have to apply a Rec 709 LUT. You can apply a pass-through LUT that keeps it as S-log, and then your exposure tools they're all relevant. They don't need to be changed. So you don't need to go, oh, okay, so I'm 1 stop overexposed now, so I now need to look for 48% IRE. No, you still look for 41% IRE, but you apply the pass-through LUT for minus one exposure compensation, and then the LUT itself is going to pull the waveform down. You know, it's going to pull those values down, and then your exposure targets, even though you haven't changed the numbers of them, even though you're still at 41% or 61% for, say, grey or white, you are actually still overexposed because you're monitoring the pass-through LUT. So I think I've made a case for pass-through. Okay, right, moving on. S-log2 to S-log3. Now, a lot of the footage I shoot, I hand off, and as such, I can't really show it. So I looked for a shot from a recent corporate PR stunt that was very abstract. So it's an out of focus body with a sky behind him and a hand. This is S-log2. This is 4K to 2K on the Odyssey 7Q. This is S-log2. But people like to use slog3, and they're asking why do we not have slog3 on the Odyssey 7Q when the Inferno's got it? And the main reason is because it's just a debayer question. It's just a it's just a transformation. So it's a 3D LUT transformation that is taking place. I mean, there is no such thing as slog3 FS raw. There isn't. There is FS raw, which is a linear signal. The 7Q is debayering it to slog2, and if you want to know why, the main reason, well, I think is the main reason, is if we look at slog2 and we look at, let's go to a 1D LUT, and we look at slog3, it's simply because slog2 just has a higher recording value. It goes up to 104%. It's not that it captures more technically. There is a case for that, but slog2 as a gamma records code values up to 104%, and S-gamut is a wider color gamut than S-gamut 3 cine. Now, that's not a case for not using slog3. It's just trying to demonstrate that going from slog2 to slog3 is simply a change of the gamma curve. So it's just a change of a gamma curve. It's nothing major, and a restriction or a reduction of the color gamut. And because you're taking something down, you're just subtracting from something. You're not trying to add something. So it would be a lot more difficult to go from S-gamut 3 cine to S-gamut, whether you would notice or not, being so wide. But yeah, that's essentially what it is. So let me just show you. So I'm going to add 2 nodes here. Again, this was found with overexposure, and it is slog2. And you can create one LUT that just does all of this in one go, what I'm about to show you. But it's, let me just show you the process, then you understand. So, okay, so at the end here, I'm going to add a 3D LUT from Sony. So it's going to be Sony's LC709. Actually, no, we're not going to apply that. We're going to apply R. Adams slog3 LT LUT, the Vericam LT LUT that he created, which is similar to what he created. It's not exactly the same. He definitely refined it. This is just my basic LutCalc version. So here is slog3. Now, first of all, this looks terrible, and you can just look at the waveform. You can see how bad it is. The first thing that needs to be changed is the exposure. Now, I've already created these LUTs at a different time using the process I've showed you in this tutorial. So if we go to slog2, here are my compensations. And this was 2 stops overexposed, I believe. So I'm going to apply 2 stops, and there you go. Now, this looks good, but it's not correct. This is still slog2 that's got an slog3 LUT at the end. So this is not accurate. This is not slog3. This is slog2 with an slog3 LUT at the end. And contrast is different. It's a lot crunchier. So in the middle here, we're going to apply a different LUT. We're going to change slog2 to slog3, and we're going to create that. So, okay, so now we need to create a 3D LUT because we need to change the color gamut as well as the gamma. So the input is slog2, and it's S-gamut. That's what the Odyssey 7Q debayers to. And the output is going to be slog3. It's going to be slog3, S-gamut 3 cine. We're going to change this, so this is going to be slog3 to it's going to be slog2 to slog3. slog2 to slog3. There we go. It's a grading LUT, data levels, and we're going to generate our LUT. There was no exposure compensation. I hope you noticed there. Right, in LutCalc test. Oh yeah, we've got our different, oh, sorry guys, I was a little confused there. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to click save, and the LUT's been created. Again, we've got to update our folder, just double check it's there. So if we go to our LutCalc test, and there it is, slog2 to slog3. It's a 3D LUT. Click update lists, give a few seconds. Sadly not long enough to make a cup of tea, and save. There we go. Okay, so remember, so this one, the first node is correcting the exposure. The output at the end here is slog3 LC709 type A. In the middle, we're just going to change slog2 over to slog3. So if we go down to our LutCalc test, here is our slog2 to slog3, and you're going to see the contrast change. And this is exactly what we're looking for. There's multiple ways of working at this. So the gamma change from slog2 to slog3 could be first, and then the second node would be an slog3 exposure compensation LUT that would change the exposure. If you want to see that, 1, 2, 3. Here's 3 nodes. We're going to again the node at the end is and we'll apply that last. We'll put it in there just so it's there. So LC 709 type A. There we go. Again, horribly overexposed. We'll disable that. Okay, in the first node, we're going to convert it from slog2 to slog3. So we're going to go to LutCalc test, slog2 to slog3, and there's it's a minor change, and you can see the noise creep up. Just how, I mean, it's funny. Like if you go from slog2 to slog3 on your FS5, and you're looking at the log, and you're looking at anything in the shadow area, you see the noise because it's a different gamma profile. The noise hasn't changed. I mean, it's not like slog2 is not as noisy. But yeah, it's essentially what you're looking at when you're changing camera. You're changing the gamma. So anyway, so here's slog2 to slog3, and now technically, so there's nothing in this node. This is now slog3. So this is slog3. This is transforming it to slog3. This is changing it to LC709, and it's horribly overexposed. So let's use a 3D LUT, an slog3 3D LUT to change it. So we want to pull the exposure down by 2 stops, and there you go. Ta-da! That's slog3 from slog2. It really isn't difficult. Now from this, you can then create a LUT. So you can now generate a 3D LUT from here, and we're going to put it in here. So it's going to be slog2 to slog3 LC709A, and we're going to put in resolve, and we click save. Go over to our lists again, update our lists because we know it's gone into that folder. And click save. And then in this second shot, which is just to be clear, so we've got one node here. This is the same footage, and we're going to apply our newly created LUT, which was from those 3 nodes. So we go to LutCalc test. slog3 LT, is that the right one? No, it's this one here, isn't it? slog2 to slog3 LC709 resolve, and then click that, and then if you look, there is no change here, and that's how you create the LUT. It's not hard, and again, so now you can export that LUT, and you can use that in your small HD, your Odyssey, or whatever, and you can feed it slog2 and be monitoring slog3. You can use like Bert's ARRI LUT. That looks fantastic. Yeah, so it really isn't an issue. It's not something that you. I mean, I think the Odyssey is definitely more expensive, especially if you're coming from if you're buying outside of a sale and you're including the upgrade to the upgrade to the FS5 as well. It's a chunk of change, and I get it. It's Sam Fenton actually showed me the other day that if you're coming from scratch, it could cost you almost £1,000 more expensive if you're, especially I think, if you're not making use of particular educational benefits, which a lot of people can do. There's a lot of people that are students that could take advantage of things like that. So I do totally get it. But please, don't base it on the fact that the Inferno can give you slog3. You really do want to have you really want slog2. slog2 it records more code values, it has a wider color gamut, and it can be transformed over to slog3 Cine incredibly easy. It's nothing to get too concerned about. So that is Davinci Resolve. Let me just quickly show you how this can be applied in Final Cut 10 for people that don't want to use Davinci Resolve, or people that want to hand over their workflow over to people that are going to edit in Final Cut 10, or they're going to edit in Premiere Pro, or whatever. Any NLE that can also handle LUTs, or has a utility that can handle LUTs, can also work. So we're going to hide Davinci Resolve here. Let's bring up Final Cut 10. We have the same clips in Final Cut 10 at the moment. The viewing space is different. It's probably a little too technical for me to fully explain, and I'll probably make a complete balls up of it. So it won't look exactly the same, but the same thing is happening to the footage. So we're going to use Color Grading Central's Color Finale Pro, and open it up, add the LUT utility. And the first thing you've got to do is add the LUT to the manager. So yeah, here we are in LUT Manager, click plus, and we should be able to go, here's our LutCalc test. And we should be able to just select all of these. These are the LUTs we have created through Resolve and LutCalc today. Click open, and they should all be in here inside the LUT manager, inside what they call the default LUT. I think it's called the default LUT store or something, but we're going to call it LutCalc test. LutCalc test. That's there, and then where's our LUTs that we created? So we created. Okay, so here we are. 1D LUTs are not supported inside of what do you call it? Color Finale. So we're going to have to ignore that pass-through LUT. But the other ones are. So we created this. We created this one, didn't we? One, and we created slog2 to slog3. We also created this LC709 Resolve one, and this other one here. There we go. Now we have to ignore this. Now the thing is, not to worry. I've already created exposure compensation LUTs before, and they're already in here for slog2 and slog3. And if anyone who's had my BAMP film LUTs supplied to them via WeTransfer from me, they've always been 3D LUTs, so don't worry. I just wanted to demonstrate how a 1D LUT can be used in Davinci Resolve to help you create 3D LUTs, but that they can't be used inside of this particular program. Anyway, that's there. Now the thing is that we may not see them turn up straight away. So as you can see, the folder that we created isn't there, and that's where our particular LUTs are. So let's delete the effect, see if it comes back up when we reapply. And if it doesn't, we'll just have to restart. Yeah, we just have to quickly restart Final Cut 10. So just quit, give it a few seconds. It's a great thing about Final Cut 10, it opens so quickly. And remember, this isn't an issue with Final Cut 10, this is an issue with Color Finale. And if anyone notices I'm not doing something right, maybe there's a button I was supposed to click that updates the lists, similar to the way Davinci Resolve works. Yeah, feel free to point that out. If I've got anything wrong, and feel free to ask comments, to make comments in YouTube or whatever camera forum this particular video has been shared. That's the way people learn, and that's the way we avoid the white noise of the industry. Right, now we should. There it is. So there's our LutCalc test. So let's look at the LUTs that we've built in here. So, for example, we built the slog3 LT -1 compensation LUT for Resolve. In Resolve, sorry. And that was all from our 1D LUT and all that kind of stuff. So we built a 1D LUT in LutCalc that corrected the exposure. We brought that in. We created a look for slog3 using Art Adams Vericam LT based LUT for slog3. And from those two LUTs, we created a LUT out of Davinci Resolve, which is what this particular LUT is, and that gives us our result. And that shows you how you can, test, shoot, and create an output, and then maintain that no matter where it's going. You can email. These LUTs are tiny, less than a megabyte in size, and you can email them off. And the same goes for our slog2 footage. Our slog2 footage that we want to be slog3 for whatever reason. And again, if we go to our LutCalc store, our LUT utility, and in the LutCalc test folder, we should have, there it is, slog2 to slog3 LC709 Resolve. It even has the clip's name. Click that, apply, and there's our clip in slog3. And that's it. You can use Color Finale to do a similar thing to what we did in Davinci Resolve. So in Davinci Resolve, if I go back to here, you've got three nodes, sorry, and each one affects the next one. That's the way that node tree changes. In LutCalc, you can't use 1D LUT, so you must build 3D LUTs, and luckily I've done so. But you can do a similar thing. So let's get rid of that. and you have to work. It works in layers, and it works out that the first one you add, well, it's like first in, last out. Essentially, it's a bit like working in an elevator. If you work in an elevator, that's very weird. But anyway, so when you create it, each layer you create moves down, and it's affecting things first. Okay, so if we move to my slog exposure compensation, these are the 3D LUTs that I told you about. And the first thing we're going to do, this is slog2 material, we're going to correct the exposure. So let's pull the exposure down by 2 stops. Apply. That's the first one. Then we're going to add another LUT utility, and we're going to check. Actually, is that in there? Default cube store. We need to go from slog. Oh, it's in LutCalc test, isn't it? We need to go from slog2 to slog3. So we apply that. Apply. There's that change. Add another node, and now we're going to go from slog3 to slog3. We go from slog3 over to the Varicam V709, and that is inside my Sony LT folder, and it is slog3 LT. As you can see, there's no exposure compensation. Click apply, and we have the same result. And yeah, there we go. I think if you want to just see there, I mean, there might be a slight change due to the way it's always been processed, but if you open up this, so this is a copy of this clip. Remove those LUTs and just add the one we created in LutCalc, which is this one here, isn't it? LC. Oh no, this is going to LC709, so there will be a change here. Sorry, apply. Click that. So this is slog2 to LC3. This is slog2 to slog3 to LC709 via one LUT, and then this is our Adams version, which is going to LT. That's very little change at all, really. Oh, it's quite nice. But there you go. I mean, like in this particular one has 3 LUTs. Again, first, second, third node in Davinci. And this one just has 1 LUT, which is a combination of those 3. Well, apart from the LC709 being a different. And that's it, guys. I mean, I hope that helps. Feel free to ask questions, put comments. No problem. I'll get back to you. And anyone who if anyone wants my pass-through LUTs, I will happily send them. But I totally recommend that you go and buy LutCalc. It's £2.29. Follow this process and get into building LUTs yourself, and you know, come up with some creative recipes for your exposure. It's for your clips. It's completely different from building LUTs just for grading, just for inside the program. Once you're out there monitoring with these LUTs, then you can do things like, I have another video, it's about 40 minutes long, and it shows you the internal color correction tools that are inside the Sony FS5 that let you change the colors of slog2 or 3. If you're monitoring your look, your look that you've created in LutCalc, then you've got that neutral basis. And then when you're in an environment where you've got, say, fluorescent lighting that's pushing green into the image, you can sit there and you can correct, eyeball. I mean, it's an eyeball correction, but you can use the vector scope and what have you. But let's face it, everyone's going to be working pretty quickly, and you're really just moving a slider that's got like a plus, I don't know, a plus or minus 9-step range for correcting magenta and green shifts and changes to white balance and things like that. But a combination of those scene file adjustments in the paint menu and the LUTs that you're monitoring with, you can come up with some creative results, and you can really change things, and it can look quite interesting. But yeah, anyway, I hope that helps. I hope that helps people. Now, just one last thing. You might be looking at some clipping here and thinking that this isn't great. This was never monitored as slog3. This was monitored as slog2, and we went from slog2 to slog2 LT, which is the Adams Varicam LT approach. We wasn't going over to slog3. So if I had monitored this in slog3, then I would have been looking at this particular waveform, and this waveform would have been informing me of my light meter choices on the day. So don't think that this is the result you'll get with overexposure when you go down this route. It's not true. This is simply down to the fact that I didn't monitor slog3. I didn't monitor slog3 because I honestly don't really care about going from slog2 to slog3. It's really people at the other end that care about that. And the fact is that there's a process to do that. In this particular instance, yeah, maybe it does or doesn't work, but I'm pretty sure in Davinci Resolve that wouldn't be an issue. In fact, if we go over, it isn't, as you can see. There's no clipping here. But anyway, I hope that helps, guys, and catch you on the next one.